Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Monday, the 7th of February, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at the dollar index, sinking lower all of last week. Really quite interesting, having broken higher that strong week. We just gave it all back up again the following week. But the fact is, we did break above the cloud. We come back. Remember, we like a 3-bar rule, so this is a weekly chart. I'd like to see this above the cloud for 3 weeks, but we are wandering out, and the dollar is ultimately in that medium-term uptrend and will probably win through. But we've got some more downside potential before we go higher. This is the thing about trends. This is the weekly, the daily, the 60-minute, the long-term, the medium-term, and the short-term view. And these trends will conflict. That's how it is. So the short-term trend is bearish, the medium-term trend is bullish, and the long-term trend is turning more bullish as the medium term starts to win. Looking at the euro, that means the euro is looking stronger this week. Had that big bounce last week, but not enough to take it medium term bullish. We've got quite a bit of work still to do there, but that floor for the euro is the one to watch. Sterling is actually looking weaker against the dollar. Just hitting some cloud resistance, still in medium-term bearish territory. And we're just seeing on the 60-minute chart, we're just starting to roll through the chart. So it looks like a less good week for sterling. And the same is true, really, of euro sterling. That rate rise last week in sterling fell away. So we're right back into the teens, the 180s, 50 level. Just couldn't break and hold that 120 level convincingly. Bitcoin sitting at $42,000. So that's quite key that we got it back into the 40s. Looking like we really found long-term cloud support there. The long-term target of $83,000 not deactivated whilst we stayed above that previous low. So not yet bullish on the medium-term chart, but that jump that we saw on Friday is holding, so looking much better for Bitcoin. The S&P 500 index, of course, had a terrible week, and we did see a recovery just towards the end, but interestingly, all we need really now is we've got the downside target. These columns have been locked. 20% downside if we break to new lows. We did find cloud support there on the weekly, right on the cloud, but the daily has come through, and now the cloud is acting as resistance. So we are medium-term bearish on the cloud for the first time in a long time. And the Nasdaq, of course, we break below 14,000 on the Nasdaq 100. That would be bearish. That downside target starts to get activated. So again, we need to watch that. The futures are slightly lower today, so not a strong start to the week. And if we look at the VIX volatility, it's up 5%, sitting in around 24. So the fear index is just gradually edging higher, so you've got to keep an eye on that. The FTSE futures up 0.4%. The DAX in Germany up 0.25%. 15,000 is the level here. That's the floor that you need to keep an eye on. And then if we look at Japan, that was down 0.25%. And the interesting thing, of course, is that the Chinese market was shut last week for Chinese New Year. We're back today, and we're seeing that we've got a little bit of a bounce here, up 2%, but the reality is that fell away before Chinese New Year is still very much in train, and we're starting to see prices below the cloud here. So Chinese stocks still looking vulnerable. The S&P Sensex, the Indian market down 2%, so struggling there, and the Aussie market down slightly. We'll look at energy in a minute. Looking at soft commodities, wheat up another 0.5%. Looking bullish all the time there with upside targets. And if we look at corn, up just under 1%. That trend really continuing, and upside targets there as well. Keep an eye on those targets. Gold sitting at 1811, so holding the $1,800 mark. That's the critical level. We always talk about that for gold. We are seeing other precious metals like palladium down quite sharply today. So we're just in a short-term bearish trend there at the moment, so you could keep an eye on that. And US 10-year yields are sitting at 1.9%. So we did see that jump on Friday in the yield, and of course all eyes on that 2% level. Got a new target of 2.18 if we break to new highs above that sort of 193 mark. And the other significant event, of course, last week was the German Bund. That is through to multi-year lows and really looking more and more like the end of a 30-year run in bond markets. So that's really significant. And the other one was Facebook. Tech stocks last week, we saw these downside targets on Facebook. They've been met. That was the big move. Bearish on all three time frames and hasn't really recovered. So that shows inherent weakness, not bouncing back. Looking at Brent crude now, we're down this morning 1%, but looking really quite good for a rise. We've got good upside targets, looking bullish. We've given key levels in our morning call reports out to clients. You can see here in our morning call today's targets, and we've given those for Brent. So we were neutral today because we've got mixed targets, but we've given the key levels that need to hold. So if you're trading crude, keep an eye on those. Taking a look at US nat gas, really had big falls last week. So we've got mixed targets off the floor. Should be interesting to see there. Emissions down this morning, but had a very strong week last week, of course, and the targets are in train. Looks like we might just pull back today. Gas prices falling away, down 5%. We are really stuck in this range at the moment, and it'll be very interesting to see whether we break higher or lower as well. And MBP, much the same. And again, in the report, we've given key levels there, so you can go and just read the levels off. That's what you need to watch. Taking a look at German power, we're down again this morning, down 5%. So just really significant. Held the cloud, but we are just coming back a little bit under pressure. So we are seeing power markets falling away as well. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.